God wants to use you where you are right now. When God calls you to do something, there is no arguing with him. And if you keep telling God no, you will make him mad. Did you know that God can use anyone, including you, for his purpose? And if you love God, if you're seeking God, and if that is what you want, you don't even know that God could already be using you. And I was reading Exodus, and right here it says that when Moses met God in the burning bush, and God chose him to go lead the people out of Egypt, Moses kept doubting God. He kept saying, well, what if they don't listen to me? What if they don't believe me that I'm talking to God? And God kept saying, I'm going to give you basically these superpowers. You're going to prove to them that I'm talking to you, that I am God. So Moses kept finding all these different excuses. Like, what if they don't believe me? What if they don't listen? What if they believe me and then they don't listen? What if yada yada? I love this verse. Then Moses said to the Lord, "O my Lord, I am not eloquent, neither before nor since you have spoken to your servant. But I am slow of speech and slow of tongue." He's saying, I'm not a good speaker. I don't speak well. I heard somebody say that he stutters. So the Lord said to him, "Who has made man's mouth? Or who makes the mute, the deaf, and seeing, or the blind? Have not I the Lord? Now therefore go, and I will be with you. I will be with your mouth and teach you what you shall say." God made you the way that you are. I'm not speaking to like anyone who has injuries or anything like that, but if you think you're not a good speaker or you're blind or whatever the case is, God made you that way and he can use you that way. And even in the New Testament, there was a story where God made someone, when somebody was blind and Jesus healed his sight, and people asked him, like, why was he born blind? Was that like a punishment that his parents did something and that was God's punishment where he punished the child? And Jesus said, no, he was born blind to glorify me through my, basically, he was born blind for the sole purpose that I will heal his sight and show people what I can do. We don't know why we're born certain ways, but God right here admitted that he made us the way that we are, and he chooses to use us in that way. At the end of the day, because all of us are so like imperfect, we're perfectly imperfect. I personally don't relate to people who are perfect. I like to relate to people who are like me. Maybe they have a slight accent, maybe they're slightly overweight, or whatever the case is, you know, single parents or whatever, right? We all relate to other people on things that we have in common. And I don't really know how this whole influencer thing took off on the internet because it's just so unrelatable to me. And a lot of people that I used to follow that started out, you know, humble, sleeping on my grandma's couch, I was poor and blah, blah, blah. And then you watch this person become a multimillionaire and they're spending thousands and thousands of dollars on spas and treatments and first class tickets and private jets and vacations and Porsches, and I completely no longer related to this person. And the amount of wealth that they had, they just made more of it and spent more of it on themselves. I did not see them building shelters or helping hungry children. Maybe they were doing that, sure, but the lavish lifestyle, the amount of money they were spending on themselves and on luxury, I just no longer related to them. So, and that's what happens when you worship money and fame and beauty. I love that God made us imperfect because that's kind of how we relate to one another. And so that's why God can use you for his purpose. And we a lot of times don't even see how he's going to use us or even why he chose us. A lot of us feel like we're just, you know, like God can only use pastors and people who went to Bible school and have all these degrees. And that's not true. And on top of that, therefore, go and I will be with your mouth and teach you what you shall say. God can help you. He will speak through you. This is Exodus 4, by the way, in case you're wondering. Exodus 4:10 going on after that. But he said, "Oh my Lord, please send by the hand of whomever else you may send." So Moses is saying, please send someone else, even though you've just disproved every doubt I had, and that I'm talking to God directly. I mean, can you imagine being chosen by God? The all-knowing God who knows everything, who knows the future and the past. And you're telling God, can you send someone else? I don't want to do this. Can you imagine doubting yourself in front of God? When God knows everything about you, what you're capable of, and you're telling him, I don't trust you, God. I don't believe you. I don't trust you. You're wrong. Go choose someone else. So the anger of the Lord was kindled against Moses, and he said, is not Aaron the Levite your brother? I know that he can speak well. And look, he is also coming out to meet you. When he sees you, he will be glad in his heart. Now you shall speak to him and put the words in his mouth. And I will be with your mouth and with his mouth, and I will teach you what you shall do. So he shall be your spokesman to the people, and he himself shall be as a mouth for you, and you shall be to him as God. And you shall take this rod and in your hand with which you shall do the signs. God gave him no more options. God said, okay, you're not a good speaker. You don't want to do this, okay? Your brother will be the speaker. I will talk directly to you. You will tell your brother, and he will speak to everyone else. When God calls you to do something, there is no arguing with him. And if you keep telling God no, you will make him mad. And when he calls you according to his purpose to do something, he will send you help. He will help you directly. He will speak through you. He will work miracles through you, like he was using Moses and the staff. And he can also send you a speaker. He will send you someone else that will help you deliver the purpose that he chose you for. Whatever that purpose is, he will do it. And I think that's so amazing because we forget that God can do everything and anything, and that God can send helpers. I myself have seen helpers show up in my life for years. I just didn't realize that that was God's doing. When he calls us to go do something that we don't have the money for, he will find someone that will pay for it. He will find someone that'll take care of you in some way. Don't think that you are not good enough, not perfect enough to be used by God. If God calls you for something, he will help you. He will find ways for you to get the job done. Ask him for help. Ask him. When he calls me to do something and I say, God, I don't know how I'm going to do that, but I know God can do anything because all things are possible with God. I hope this encouraged someone to not feel like they need to get 1,000,000 degrees to be used by God. God is using you every day. Seek him, pray, read your Bible, and we show sometimes the ways he uses us is just by our fruit. Are we being fruitful? Are we being righteous in front of other people? Because we represent God. We represent Jesus. So if we're going around cursing and yelling and stealing and lying and cheating, that is a representation of Jesus. So if we're going around doing that, then people who are non-believers are going to be like, I don't want to follow Jesus. Look at how these crazy Christians act. So let God use you, because that's what we're here for. We're not here to live a life of the things we want. That was my old life. I was just seeking my own things. I had a whole list of things I was manifesting and dreaming of, and I believed that I could get it. And I was not living for God. I was living for myself. And if you love God, or if you don't know God, God has a purpose for everyone, and he has ways that he can use you for his kingdom. And to me, that's the greatest, most exciting thing, that God chooses us and he has plans for us, and that he sends us out as his soldiers into the world. That is so, I don't even have the word to describe how good that makes me feel when I know that I'm being used by God for something. And we're not always going to see the end result, because we plant the seeds and then God waters them. It's God's job to water them. And that could take years and decades for people. But we are leaving those little seeds, little trails for people every day, the way we live, the way we treat people, the way we show up for people, and whatever else God can cause us. We all have different levels of purpose that God calls us on. Some have greater, some have different. We all have different ones. For some of us, it's just showing up on YouTube. For some of us, it's just to encourage someone to pick up a Bible for the first time. And for others, it's something much greater than that. I don't think one is better than the other because God chooses every single one of us differently. The goal is just to surrender to Him and let Him use you, and don't fight back. Don't fight back because He's going to be with you. And if He wants you to be some kind of public speaker, He's going to give you the courage to do it. So every time I feel like God's calling me to do something and I'm scared to do it, if God called me to go skydive and I'm absolutely deathly afraid of heights, if He called me to do that for some weird reason, I would pray for courage. I would pray for God to give me the courage and to help me overcome that fear. So what you feel God is calling you to do and you don't want to do it, I didn't want to go on YouTube. He was calling me to come on YouTube for years and I did not want to do it. I knew I wasn't ready for a few years, but like I knew it was coming, but thinking I wasn't imagining it, or He'll find something else for me to do. And I was praying like, God, give me the courage to show up. Give me the right words to say. I don't want to mislead anybody. Who am I? I just started reading the Bible. And I prayed, give me the time to do it. I don't have time to record videos. Give me the equipment to do it. Give me that excitement. Give me the urge to do it, because I didn't want to do it. I had all these different obstacles. And then He gave me all of it. He showed me how I would do it. He gave me the time to do it. Like I had 1 week off that I had just no work. He gave me the urge. He gave me the opportunity. Everything lined up. And He gave me the vision and gave me what to say and the things to talk about. It all lined up. So when He calls you to do something and you're like, well, I have all these obstacles, pray for Him specifically. Ask Him to remove all these obstacles so that you can go do that purpose. But then when He removes all the obstacles, don't find other excuses, because like here, Moses kept finding other reasons why he can't do it. If God clears the path for you, do it. Just go do it. And He'll equip you. And as a result, you're going to change, because we're always changing and learning and, evolving as people. We're not the same person that we were 5-10 years ago. And God can change us so much. He changes us. Pray for God to change you so that you can be the person He wants you to be, to walk in His purpose, to do the thing He's asking you to do. If He wants you to work in children's ministry and you don't like children, pray for Him to change that, because He sees something in you that you don't see. I never really liked children. I will be honest. I'll be honest. I never really liked children. And then children just started showing up in my life. From nieces and nephews, neighbors. I found myself constantly being surrounded by children. And smaller children kept constantly, for some reason, smaller children were constantly drawn to me. And I found myself hanging out with small children outside. During that 1 year that I had no job, I was outside almost every day, talking to children, watching children, playing with children. And I remember thinking, this is so weird. And I started to love talking to children and being around children. Also, I don't like mentoring other children or telling other children what to do, because they're not my kids. And I know how every parent has their own belief. And I don't want to tell other people's kids hey, don't do that. Don't touch that. And I have a very harsh way of speaking that I've had to work on for years, and I'm still working on it. And you could probably tell by my tone. I have a very kind of a mean tone when I talk, and that's something I've struggled with my whole life. I have to constantly watch how I speak, because the way I sound in my head is not how I sound to other people. When I listen to myself on video, I don't sound as nice as I sound in my head. So I've had to practice, instead of yelling at a kid, hey, don't touch that, I had to practice and learn to say, hey, don't touch that. Or we keep your hands to yourself. Hey, we keep our hands to ourselves, instead of, hey, don't hit them. That kind of, instead of this instant yelling. And, I just had to practice and learn how to talk to children. I also had to learn that through my own child. And so the whole point is, sometimes God is calling you to something and it could take years for you to even prepare for it. Like, maybe he is calling me to do children's ministry, but maybe that's in 5-10 years. I don't know. But the whole point is, God will start working on you during that process. And so don't fight back. If you see that he's calling you to do something because it keeps showing up in your life, embrace it, work on it, ask him to help you, study it, learn ways that you can improve in that area so that you can then fill that purpose for God. I really hope that makes sense. Sometimes we want something so bad. God wants to use you where you are right now. And we're so focused on getting to that next thing that we don't realize the reason we're not getting there is because we're not allowing God to use us where we are. And if that thing is going to take you away from your purpose, God is not going to give it to you. He's not going to give it to you until you're ready or until he's done using you in that place that you're at. If you pray about it and you seek him, he will reveal to you how he wants to use you. And it's up to you whether you're going to obey and do the thing that he's asking you to do. When I ask God why I'm stuck at a specific place in my life, like why I'm stuck there, I can't seem to find a way out. It's never happened before. It's always been easy to switch that, whatever thing that is, whether it's a job or a place. For some reason, I've been stuck in this one place for a long, long time, years and years. And I was asking God, please God, why am I stuck here? I don't understand. Like, what am I doing wrong? I actually thought it was a punishment for a long time. It's not a punishment. God is trying to use you, and we just don't see it. We're thinking about ourselves, and we're not thinking about why we're here. And God showed me he's actually trying to use me to save someone else. Someone that I thought was unsavable. But that's not for me, that's for God. That's God's job. But somehow that's why I was stuck there. He was trying to use me. And that makes it even more hard, more difficult, because that gave me a whole new thing that I have to now focus on doing. Instead of focusing on what I want, I now had to focus on letting God use me and being a good steward, being fruitful, being righteous. And it's difficult to do that when the person he's trying to save is not nice to you. And God tells you, you want to get away from this person? I'm trying to save this person through you. So that means you have to keep enduring suffering and keep showing up the way Jesus tells us to show up, to love your enemies, to give them food when they're hungry, to give them blankets when they're cold. To the very people that you're trying to escape from, God is telling you, I'm trying to use you for them. God cares even about our enemies. But let me tell you, when he showed me that, it gave me so much peace, because I really felt like, oh, this is not my own suffering. This is not my own doing. God has a plan. And whatever that plan is, yes, it's been hard. It's so hard sometimes, but that's his will, and he's with me. He's with me, and he's going to help me get through it. We sometimes just don't know how he's using us, but pray about it and ask him to reveal it to you, and in due time he will. Thank you for watching. I hope this helped someone, and my name is Deja, and I'll see you in the next video.